live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, the Denise Gary Show. Now, here's Denise Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denise Gary Show. I am thrilled today. I have one of the founding members of the Department of Homeland Security with us on the broadcast today live, Phillip Haney. Phillip Haney, welcome to the Denise Gary Show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Haney has written a book. It is entitled See Something, Say Nothing. A Homeland Security officer exposes the government's submission to Jihad. This is about the Obama administration, and I wanted to ask you a question before we begin this discussion today about current issues. A U.S. Muslim leader reacted back in November 2015 to the Paris attacks. Now, these Paris attacks back in 2015 were believed to be by the Islamic State, ISIS, ISIL. Some Arab groups refer to them as Daesh. And the President Obama at the time, said that ISIS had nothing to do with Islam. And of course, under President President George W. Bush, he referred to the terrorist attacks as simply that, terrorist attacks. He referred to the enemy as a tactic, not exactly an individual who is carrying out an Islamic terrorist attack based on their ideology. And by the time President Obama took office, Muslim Brotherhood leaders in the United States were forcing changes to our national security policy. And I wanted you to address, first and foremost, this issue of the Obama administration refusing to address the issue of radical Islamic terrorism compared to President Trump's decision to face it and discuss it head on.
Well, it's refreshing that President Trump is taking steps to address it head on. No question about it. But as far as the question of whether ISIS, ISIL, IS, Daesh, and about 35 or 40 other affiliated pro-Sharia Islamic Jihad groups that are part of the coalition, which is another point we often miss. It's not just the group that's in Syria and Iraq. It's a coalition of between 30 and 35 different groups around the world, has explicitly to do with Islam. The leader of ISIS is a man named al-Baghdadi. That's not actually his real name, but he comes from the city of Baghdad, and he was a child prodigy.
Yes.
He went to the university and studied Sharia law.
Right.
He's a sheikh. He's not an amateur or just some country bumpkin. He is a well-known Sharia law scholar, and
I believe he got his
PhD are based entirely on the Quran.
I believe he received his PhD actually in Islamic studies.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, tell us what happened. I understand that former President Obama had the files inside the Department of Homeland Security deleted, and this is something that your book addresses. Again, See Something, Say Nothing. Those files deleted showing the network of Muslim or Islamic groups here in the United States and how these different mosques may have been tied to and connected to the terrorist attacks in San Bernardino, California, and in Orlando, Florida. Could you touch on that, sir?
Sure. There are three purges, specific events that happened during the time of my career. First one was in 2009, in the fall, at the same time as the underwear bomber around Christmas of 2009, when the U.S. government deleted and altered 820 records in the classified database called TEX, related specifically to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
And then it happened again in 2011 and dribbled into 2012. And the individuals responsible for that are people that we hear about quite a bit lately. It was Mr. Mueller and Mr. Brennan. They were in the administration at the time in different capacity, and they gave the authorization to do what we also call the Great Purge, the purging of all the training material and information from the different law enforcement branches like FBI, DOD, my agency, DHS, Customs and Border Protection. And then the third purge was the one you last referred to, specifically a case that I worked on called the Tablighi Jamaat Initiative, which links directly to San Bernardino. In that specific case, 67 very specific records were completely deleted from the database. And that happened 2.5 years before the attack. And the really terrible thing about it is that the cases that I worked on included Boston, San Bernardino, and Orlando. And I worked on these cases and put information into the system as much as 4 years before the attacks happened.
And this is this is working in your capacity as the Department of Homeland Security official. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, I was what is called the subject matter expert.
Okay.
We call it SME. And yes, that was my capacity. I worked at the National Targeting Center, which is the highest intel center in the whole United States government as far as Homeland Security. It's outside of Washington, D.C. And when I was there, I worked specifically on this case called the Tablighi Jamaat Initiative, the one that's related to San Bernardino. So, yes.
Based on, when I had top secret clearances, sir, it was, of course, prior to the Obama administration and to the Bush administration. And I'm just curious, at a particular time in America's history when I was involved in doing research on Islamic terrorism, it became clear to me that there were mosques here in the United States that were specifically involved with helping fund terrorist groups, and of course were linked together in supporting bringing individuals here that could help teach Sharia law and Jihadism. Is that something that you were familiar with when you were working in the Department of Homeland Security?
Yes. It's not only was I familiar with it, but it's what got me in so much trouble.
Okay.
Is because the narrative has been that these are lone wolf, isolated, separated individuals with no apparent connection to any kind of a social, political network. It's exactly the opposite of that. Especially from an Islamic worldview, the thought of being separated from the community is a terrifying thing. It's like a child being separated from his mother. There are always individuals, and they are always, underlined, emphasized, always connected to a network of organizations. And to fail to see that is why we keep having the same apparent trouble identifying the nature of the attacks that we endure, not only here in America, but all over the world.
Sir,
There's always a connection between the two.
Right. Sir, do you believe that President Trump, with the new leadership at the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, do you believe that they will begin to do what I saw when I had top secret clearances and what you experienced in the in your departmental clearance of, you called it National Targeting Center. Sir, do you believe that with the Trump administration, that they're going to begin to really talk within the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and the CIA about the network of terrorist entities that work together and share information? And in fact, sir, I want to ask you one other thing. When I interviewed, once upon a time, an individual that was tied to the Ku Klux Klan, he actually stated openly and on the record in a prior radio broadcast that they were involved in networking with jihadist groups here in America and literally met with and talked to and shared information about targets and training, etc., with Islamic groups like Hezbollah, like Al-Qaeda and other groups. Are you familiar with that, sir?
Yes, it's not only a case here in America, but look at Central America and South America.
Right.
The drug cartels have allied openly with Hezbollah, Hamas front groups, and they have what's called a Hawala network, money laundering operation. The Middle Easterners take care of moving the money, and the Central and South Americans take care of moving the drugs, and they work together. There was a whole operation called Project Cassandra that Obama shut down that broke the whole network open, starting in Venezuela, the tri-border area, through Mexico, right across our border, and he shut the case down.
Why? I'm a little bit
because of the Iran deal.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because I had a little bit of familiarity with the Project Cassandra, and I didn't understand why. But that absolutely, of course, he was concerned about the Iran deal. Are you, sir, aware of, or could you speak to on the air, the tunnels that have been built from Mexico into the United States to bring in terrorists as well as the drug cartel leaders and their followers?
Well, the tunnels are, you can carry anything that you can pick up through the tunnel. And remember, what was the man, El Chapo? He escaped out of the prison with a half a mile to a mile long tunnel that they actually dug clear and come out like a mole right in his cell. Well, the Israelis, the world's foremost authorities on tunnel technology, if you want to call it, between the border with Lebanon and the border at Gaza. As a matter of fact, I'm going over next month, and I'm going to be looking at national security from the Israeli perspective next month.
Oh, I wish I was going with you. Wish I was going with you on that trip.
Well, I'd be glad to tell you about it when I get back.
Well, I'll love to have you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to the author of See Something, Say Nothing. A Homeland Security officer exposes the government's submission to Jihad. This was during the Obama administration. Sir, just real quick, I was reading a report there in France that there was a woman, 22, basically accused of a near-terrorist attack in Paris. The attack was foiled. She's one of 3 women allegedly involved in a foiled terrorist attack in 2016. They had packed a car full of gas canisters near the Notre Dame Cathedral there in Paris. She was just sentenced the other day to 8 years in prison by a French court. That's not the only report I have. I'm looking at another report. Muslim migrants have been involved in extensive damage to centuries-old Paris church. The Saint Denis Basilica has been, of course, attacked. And there are apparently 2 or 3 others there in France that have been attacked by Muslims there in that country. It's being reported as of this moment that the French government is suggesting that it was an accident. Do you believe, sir, based on your work under the Obama administration, the fact that files were deleted that pointed to the work of Muslim terrorist groups in the United States, do you believe it's possible that the French government may not actually come forward with information on this burning of the Notre Dame Cathedral there in Paris as a terrorist attack because of their concerns over the possible backlash there in France against the Muslim community? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, like can say for certain that there is a trend of destroying churches all over the Islamic world.
Right.
In Middle East, Far East, Africa. So that is a certainty. There's a trend of destroying churches, including France. But it remains to be seen. Time will tell, of course. If it were true, and covering it up is not going to help France. They're not going to be respected for covering it up. If that were the case, it will only make things worse. There's going to have to come a time when we in the West have the wherewithal and the courage to address this, face it,
Right.
and call it for what it is. And until we do that, we're going to keep seeing the same kind of things. There's been almost 35,000 jihad attacks since 9/11. That's about one every 4.5 hours. Every single hour since 9/11, which was 18 years ago.
Say that again. Say that again, sir. You said that based on your information, there have been how many terrorist attacks since 9/11?
Well, 34,700 and something. I just rounded it up to 35. And if my math is right, it's about one every 4.5 hours.
About a terrorist attack. What?
Yeah, and a lot of them are bigger than the ones we've ever seen here.
One in every hour. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
35,000 divided by 18. However you do the math, it's a lot.
Yes.
I think if I remember right, about every 4.5 hours, there's one somewhere in the world. So you basically throw a dart and you're going to hit a point of conflict. And so let's go back where we started with ISIS.
Okay.
Are every single one of those 34,700 and something attacks have nothing to do with Islam? Even though every single person that does it will virtually always tell you exactly the same thing, that they're doing it for a specific reason, and that is to advance the cause of Islam, specifically to implement Sharia law in the world, and that they're authorized according to Quran to do it with violence if they feel it's necessary.
Absolutely.
They're all wrong.
Right.
So what are these attacks then? If they're all misinterpreting the Quran, then who is it? Where are the thousands and thousands of people marching down Fifth Avenue, and maybe in LA, large massive crowds of protesters saying, "Not in our name, we will not stand for this. They're misrepresenting our peaceful religion." Where are all these protests if in fact they are misrepresenting Islam?
Having read the Quran, sir, there are so many places inside the Quran. I'm thinking about chapter 98 at the moment that specifically calls for the death of infidels or unbelievers. Before I let you go, I know you've got, ladies and gentlemen, Phil Haney, one of the founding members of the Department of Homeland Security in 2002, is speaking tonight at Hodel's Restaurant for Act for America. Act for America. It's at the Hodel's Restaurant. They're at on Olive Drive. And ladies and gentlemen, you go into the restaurant. I believe it's in the Heritage Room. Phil Haney will be there tonight at 6 p.m. I'm sure that if you get there a few minutes late, it won't be a problem. I believe it's $20 for the dinner. You're invited to have a dinner there at Hodel's and take a seat. They're inside the Heritage Room. Phil Haney speaking for Act for America tonight in Bakersfield, California. Do you think, before I say goodbye, Mr. Haney, do you believe that Representative Omar's comments about 9/11 to CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, do you think her comment to that particular Muslim audience about some people did something on 9/11, do you think it was an accident, a careless mistake, just recklessness on her part, or do you think that that's part of just an overall decision by her to not own, as somebody who has embraced and supported people that are involved in terrorism. As you know, I'm sure you are well familiar with the fact that she has called for lighter sentences for ISIS individuals that have been involved in attacks against Americans, and she has been known to be photographed regularly with individuals of terrorist groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you think that was just an accident on her part, or do you think it goes to who she is, to the core of her thinking?
Let's start with the fact that it's illegal according to Sharia law to criticize Islam, period.
Right. Good
so
point.
She is predisposed to be apologetic or defensive on behalf of Islam.
Exactly.
Now, part two is that we're not even really talking about their most serious problem with this whole incident. A sitting member of U.S. Congress is talking to a Hamas front group. They've already been designated more than 10 years ago as affiliated with Hamas. It's not a secret. It's not classified. It was in the Holy Land Foundation trial.
Why were they an unindicted co-conspirator?
The plan was to go to the second phase after the 5 individuals who were found guilty on 102 counts of support of terrorism, somewhere between $12 and $60 million. The plan was to go to phase 2. And phase 2 was going to shut down CARE, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, and North American Islamic Trust. That was phase 2. Eric Holder put a stop to it under Obama. And then on top of it, they're saying that CARE was founded after 9/11. It wasn't.
It was founded in 1994. Right. First chapter in San Francisco, California.
The thing is that this is what's so aggravating from a law enforcement officer. The amount of deception and misinformation that these people are allowed to get with and to promote in the public arena. Where is the natural curiosity of a reporter to find out, well, when exactly was CARE founded? Holy cow, it was founded in 1994. That means Ilhan Omar is either terribly, incompetently misinformed, or she's misrepresenting the truth. She's lying. She's not uninformed. She's been speaking before CARE audiences for a long time.
Yes.
This wasn't the first one. This just happened to be in Washington.
Right.
In Crystal City, right across the Potomac from D.C. No member of Congress should be speaking before a front group of Hamas, period. That's the real problem. And the fact that Nancy Pelosi, for example, doesn't stand up and say, we must not allow members of Congress to speak before known front groups for Hamas, that's what she should be saying, not all this virtue signaling that we're seeing now. It's very, very troublesome to me to see my own poor, pitiful countrymen led around by the nose by these people over and over again. It keeps happening.
I share with my audience, I believe it was last Thursday, when I played the clip that CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, was founded in 1994, and they opened up their first chapter in 1995, and of course right here in California. Sir, thank you so much. I believe your event tonight will be a great success. I hope everyone will attend here in our area. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Phillip Haney, one of the founding members of the Department of Homeland Security back in 2002, speaking tonight in Bakersfield, California, at Hodel's Restaurant on behalf of Act for America. Phillip Haney, please come back. Tell us what you learned in your trip to Israel. You say you're going on that trip next month in May.
Yes, 24th of May through the 4th of June. I'll be meeting with IDF and the Israeli police. And the Israeli police are exactly the same job as I had when I was with CBP, Customs and Border Protection. They do exactly the same thing, same kind of job. So I'll be looking at it from the Israeli side of the coin, and I'm sure I'm going to gain a lot of perspective on
Absolutely.
The work that I've done in my own career here, and hopefully bring back information that will help us have the wherewithal to help secure our country the way it should be.
Well, I'm certainly sure that President Trump would be interested in having a meeting with you. I know I've done a security trip to Israel back in 2015. It's going to be fascinating. And I'm excited about having you back on the show and hearing about things that you learned on that trip, sir. It'll really be, I know, a fabulous experience for you. And I want to thank you for your service. You are a former Border Patrol agent, I understand.
Customs and Border Protection, yes, an armed officer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Took an oath to protect our country, yes.
Thank you, sir, for your service to the United States of America. And again, wishing you the very best on your talk tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the Denise Gary Show.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Phillip Haney, there again, his book, let's get the name of his book again. I've got to read it. See something, say nothing. A Homeland Security officer exposes the government's submission to Jihad. By the way, he's absolutely correct in saying that about Hamas. Hamas was an unindicted co-conspirator during the Holy Land Foundation. That was a charity organization, a Muslim charity organization that was financing terrorist attacks, including not only terrorist attacks against our allies, but Americans overseas. Eric Holder, the former Attorney General under Barack Hussein Obama, put an end, which is why CARE, which has been a sponsor, a supporter of Hamas, it's why CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, was never shut down. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait for you to see this clip of former President Obama and what he had to say during his administration. And I'll have an important question when we come back.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go. Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denise sent you. Salute. Bon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to legal matters, contact Barb Reynolds. She is a contract paralegal to lawyers, and she will take good care of you. Moreover, she is a Kern County legal document assistant to pro per litigants. She has 47 years of paralegal experience, and for over 30 years has been an educator in the field of law and paralegal work. If you need help handling your adoption, bankruptcy, civil suit, divorce, debt consolidation, evictions, immigration, or attorney referrals, contact Barb Reynolds if you want to win your case. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994. Barb is simply the best. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thrilled I've got the owner of Scope 365 Fitness here with me today, Craig Jansen, Navy veteran. Craig, tell the audience out there why everybody in town needs to come over here and join.
Well, Scope 365 is a 24-hour club, so we never close, unlike a lot of other clubs here in town. Additionally, our club is always super clean, and one of the things that you're going to find here is a different environment where we strive to give you a VIP experience here. So we want to get to know you, we want to know your story, we want to know about you and how we can help you succeed and meet all of your fitness goals.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Scope 365 Fitness. You're located right here on Brim Hall. Tell us your other location.
We have another location up in Tehachapi, and then our third location here in town is also located over on Chester and Columbus in the Food Mac Shopping Center.
Thank you so much, Craig. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, sign up at Scope 365 Fitness. They're on Brim Hall Road, Suite 202, Bakersfield, California, 661 area code 679-7116. Scope 365 Fitness, ladies and gentlemen, owned and operated by Craig Jansen, a Navy veteran, absolutely great guy, family man. You'll want to join his gym. You need any help, you can ask for help. He'll be right there to help you. Unless, of course, he's at his gym there in Tehachapi on Sage, or at his other gym there in Oildale on Chester Avenue. He owns and operates 3 gyms in the Kern County area, and I'm thrilled about the Brim Hall gym just because maybe he's got the same kinds of equipment in Tehachapi and on Chester Avenue, but of course the one on Brim Hall has the rowboat with water in it. So there's water in it, you're actually rowing in water, so to speak. So anyway, a lot of fun. Sign up at Craig Jansen, Scope 365 Fitness Center. The phone number is 661-679-7116. Okay, I want you to see this clip. I believe that former President Barack Hussein Obama, who, as Phil Haney just pointed out in the previous segment, makes clear that no one that is Muslim is supposed to be critical of Islam in any way, shape, or form, which goes to I'm sure the reason why Barack Hussein Obama would never refer to Islamic terrorists as Islamic terrorists. They would just be referred to as individuals that waged an attack against the United States of America. I don't even know if he actually referred to terrorist attacks as terrorist attacks. I don't ever recall him actually calling a terrorist attack, but just an attack. I want you to hear this clip. This is taken from Fox News. This is taken from the Kelly file.
I have the one from Haney.
Oh, you have the one from Haney. Okay, that's right. So when I sent the clip over, apparently my original clip did not play. So my producer had to get this. So this was when he was speaking on the Hannity program, Sean Hannity's show on Fox News.
Right.
Okay, let's play that, please. Thank you.
For a while now, the main contribution of some of my friends on the other side of the aisle have made in the fight against ISIL is to criticize this administration and me for not using the phrase radical Islam. This is a political distraction, and that kind of yapping has not prevented folks across government from doing their jobs, disrupting plots, and protecting all Americans.
Obama did not protect all Americans, did he? We had several Californians, Americans, killed in San Bernardino, California, because the files showing the connection between the mosques in Florida and California, all those files in the TECS, it's called the text database. TECS is a database that the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA, all these groups use the tech database. This tech database, of course, had the information in it. The files were deleted because the files were told to be deleted because of the, beyond any reasonable doubt, the very fact that these terror groups here in the United States and these mosques were united in terms of, sharing out information in preparation for attacks. So anyway, I wanted you to see that clip, because the former president of the United States of America, we're talking about a Democrat, and I'm thinking about all these Democrats that are running for the office of president, the most important office in the country. This is the person, the president of the United States is the chief executive, and as the chief executive, he's responsible for law enforcement. He's responsible for protecting every American, not only here in the United States of America, but Americans around the globe. And if we are going to have people within the Department of Homeland Security and FBI and CIA delete files showing the connection between Muslim members in America to terrorist groups and the mosques that support them, we're going to have more terrorist attacks like we had during Obama's administration, when all those people in a nightclub in Orlando, Florida were gunned down by the way, a homosexual Muslim who hated himself, and I'm sure his ultimate plan was suicide. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's difficult. It would be difficult for yourself as a Muslim to live with the fact that you're a homosexual. So I think he was a self-hating jihadist. And, think about it. If the Department of Homeland Security, I'm sorry, I'm so tired today. I've just... exhausting weekend, exhausting day with all the things that are going on and all the research I was doing. Please forgive me. With all the information that we have, remember it was Ronald Reagan that established a department, a special department to deal with monitoring terrorism here in the United States and globally. And it was the Office of Counterterrorism, and it was so important. And just, when I heard about this book, See Something, Say Nothing, and I thought, just to think that Barack Obama would delete all of those files based on intelligence information that would bring to light people like Saeed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik. Remember those two here in California? They would have been on a no-fly list. Those people, for example, I think about Farouk. Saeed Farouk, that individual would have been put on a no-fly list and not allowed to travel into the United States. And in fact, she would hit these two terrorists. Obviously, they would have been on a watch list, and they could have been monitored 24/7. I mean, all those people in San Bernardino County, California, these people were social workers. Remember, they were social workers. They were working on behalf of the community. They had thrown a baby shower for this couple who had married and had a baby. Can you imagine? They had to have known that the possibility of them being killed was very much real. And she had just had a baby, but went on this killing spree of these people that they knew very closely, that had thrown parties for them and had been kind and thoughtful to them, birthdays, etc. It's unbelievable that people that had thrown this Muslim couple that had just had a baby parties, including a baby shower party, would then turn around, guns loaded, walk in and execute them all. Unbelievable, yes.
I was going to say, wasn't it at a Christmas party that they had participated and killed these people?
Right. And it's just, I believe so. I believe that is correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to get Raymond Ibrahim back on the show for tomorrow. He's just written an article about European churches vandalized, defecated on, torched every day. Just want you to know, in France, 2 churches, think about this. Now, this was just published. In France, 2 churches are desecrated every day on average. Can you imagine? In a Western country, 2 churches are desecrated, whether they're somehow vandalized. Muslims are going up and defecating on them, or torching them, setting them on fire. According to a German news site, 1,063 attacks on Christian churches or symbols like crucifixes, icons, statues, were registered in France in 2018. This represents a 17% increase compared to the previous year in 2017, when 878 attacks were registered. It says desecrations in France just in February and March. Vandals plundered the Notre Dame des Enfants Church and used human excrement. In other words, they used their poop to draw a cross. They took consecrated bread from the church and they threw it outside among the garbage. Another church was vandalized on 3 separate occasions in February. A 19th century statue of the Virgin Mary is now repairable. It was completely pulverized, and a hanging cross was thrown on the floor. Another city there in France, vandals desecrated and smashed crosses and statues. They mangled the arms of a statue of a crucified cross. So they took a statue of Christ on a crucifix and they mangled the arms in a mocking manner. They burned an altar cloth. Arsonists torched the church of another church there in Paris after Mass on Sunday, March 17, just last month. 1,063 attacks on churches in France. Right now we're just told, well, it was an accident. I wonder if it was just an accident. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to a quick break. I want you to see the video that President Trump put there on his Twitter account. I want you to see the video that he put up. I thought it was excellent, and I want to get your thoughts. You can talk about it there on my Facebook page. Again, this show is seen every day at 5 p.m. on Facebook.com/The Denise, DENICE, Gary, GARY, The Denise Gary Show. It's on my YouTube channel, The Denise Gary Show. Just go to The Denise Gary Show YouTube channel and click on videos. It's on iTunes, it's on SoundCloud, it's on internet radio. Let's take a quick break. I want you to see this video when we get back.
President Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security, and in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anitates Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anitates Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on and the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anatase Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anatase Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, putting a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we the private sector are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anatase Products. Anatase Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Strata Launch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anatase Products that has provided the manufactured devices. And the president, Scott Baker of Anatase Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anatase Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Ladies and gentlemen, real quick before we get to the clip on President Trump's Twitter account regarding Representative Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, I wanted to share with you a few examples of what some Muslims have done just recently in churches in France. Muslims sprayed Allah Akbar, which means in Arabic, Allah is greater, on a church before setting it on fire. On a Wednesday night, another church was set on fire, according to police sources in France. Furniture and sheet music were burned, and some really, I won't go into it, heinous graffiti was found. Apparently the fire was extinguished in time that the whole structure of the church wasn't burned to the ground. Last year on July 26th, this was on 26th of July 2016, two Islamic terrorists attacked participants in a mass. I don't know if you recall this. I do. I talked about it when I was on Christian radio. I was horrified that an 85-year-old priest had his throat slit in front of the congregation. It was a horrible scene. Two Islamic terrorists entered into mass at a Catholic church in France. This was in Normandy. And these terrorists killed an 85-year-old priest by slitting his throat. They also critically wounded an 86-year-old man who, I believe, if I remember correctly, that individual was trying to go to the defense of his priest. and he wound up being critically wounded. There are just so many incidents, and I want you to really pray for Christians living in places like Pakistan and Indonesia and Malaysia. These are Muslim majority countries. Iraq, Syria, Libya, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt. Oh, Egypt. It's terrible in Egypt. Please pray for Christians living in these Muslim dominant countries, because we've talked about Asia Bibi, who we still don't even know where she is, because wherever she is, that government is not going to release that information, because there's a target on her back because she supposedly insulted some Muslim women she worked with by talking about Jesus Christ. So it's just crazy. Right now, I want to go to that clip by Representative Omar. I don't believe that this was an accident or an oversight. I think this goes to who she is as a Muslim, talking about how by some people attacking America somewhere. Would you play that clip, please? Thank you.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
So you have no idea right now?
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit.
Some people did something.
Oh my goodness, there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon.
Some people did something.
It just flew straight into it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, by the way, did you see that puff piece on 60 Minutes last night? I watched that amongst all the other things I was trying to do to get ready for today's show. Unbelievable. Was she asked a single hard question? Was she challenged in any way, shape, or form? No, but she had the audacity to insult the President of the United States several times. And of course, she said, I couldn't get over her statement that she would say, President Trump knows that he shouldn't be President of the United States of America. Why should he? Hello, Earth to Nancy. Why should President Trump, who was elected to be the President of the United States of America, why should he know that he should not be the President of this country? Why, when there are more people employed, wages are up, taxes are down? Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know it, or in case you're a Democrat or an independent and don't want to face it. You got a tax cut this year. Absolutely, you got a tax cut. Welcome it. Getting off track just a moment. There's a educator where I work, and he told me last year, boy, you're really going to face the music this year, because boy, your taxes are going to skyrocket because of President Trump. It's going to be terrible for us all. Another doomsday prediction by another Democrat that voted for Hillary Rodham Clinton, a mess of a thing. And of course, I got more money back than I think I've ever gotten back in a very long time. Thank you, President Trump. So anyway, Nancy Pelosi, the woman that just has Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes sitting there smiling and smirking and just loving it. Every time Nancy Pelosi insulted the president, and just thinking, oh, I'm just so delighted that we can have another opportunity, 60 Minutes, to be used as a propaganda arm of the DNC. Okay, so anyway, Nancy Pelosi is absolutely furious. The President Trump had this very short video. I mean, how long was that video? Just about a minute?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Little 45-second video showing the irresponsible Representative Omar from the state of Minnesota was denigrating, dishonoring, disrespecting a horrific terrorist attack in which 3,000 innocent Americans were murdered. And it's not just the 3,000 Americans murdered that day, is it? It's not just that. It's all the Americans that have been killed as a result. I can't tell you how many reports I've heard of cancer and other horrible diseases that those first responders received as a result of trying to save lives and going into the Twin Towers when they were on fire and people were burning alive. Yes, people, children, infants. Remember, all kinds of people were there in the Twin Towers, not to mention the planes that one that went into the Pentagon and killed those people there and the people on board the flight. I mean, not to mention the innocent people on the planes. I just, some people, Islamic terrorists, who hated the American people because we represent a Judeo-Christian country, wanted to send a message that America is in the crosshairs of Islamists, and they absolutely want to take down the United States for Islam. And the only reason why they haven't been successful to date is we had people like Phillip Haney at the Department of Homeland Security and so many others like him in the FBI and the CIA who were not politically correct and who are not politically correct today, that are going after Islamic terrorists and are involved in intelligence sharing with countries like Israel, who help keep us, and who our intelligence agencies help keep us informed about their whereabouts, the mosques that they're going to, who they're recruiting. Are they coming through Mexico? Are they landing in Venezuela, as so many Iranian terrorists do? People that have been recruited to the likes of Hezbollah, who get a free pass and can land in Venezuela. By the way, Kevin McCarthy is there in Argentina today. Hopefully we can get him on the show this week. Minority Leader McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, our representative from this area in California, is there in Argentina with a delegation of Republicans. Only one Democrat bothered to go. One Democrat bothered to go. They're in Argentina talking to our allies about the situation in Venezuela, what we can do together to help stem the flow of violence, of the exportation by Iran of Islamic terrorists out of Venezuela, what we can do about the ever-growing footprint of Cuba and Russia in that country, and the horrific humanitarian crisis there. Ladies and gentlemen, we just played that video of Omar and Nancy Pelosi. She has notified, she got on the phone and notified Capitol Police on behalf of Representative Omar. And this is what Nancy Pelosi tweeted out yesterday following the president's tweet. I spoke with the Sergeant at Arms to ensure that Capitol Police are conducting a security assessment to safeguard Congresswoman Omar, her family, and her staff. They will continue to monitor and address the threats she faces. The president's words weigh a ton, and his hateful and inflammatory rhetoric. Really? Nancy Pelosi? What hateful, inflammatory rhetoric? You know, Democrats always lie. When driving over to the studio, I heard Bernie Sanders, presidential candidate, being interviewed on Fox News at a town hall meeting, lie again and again and again. And if he wasn't lying, everything was about social justice, playing the identity card, the humanitarian crisis in America, not at the border, but the humanitarian crisis in America. What humanitarian crisis in America? The only humanitarian crisis we have in America is at the border. And it's not the Canadian-American border. I wonder why. It's at the Mexican-American border. Ladies and gentlemen, so here we have Speaker Pelosi lying to the American people, as usual, that the president, talking about his hateful and inflammatory rhetoric. Did the president say a word on that video depicting Representative Omar? He didn't say a word. It just showed her. It just showed her speaking to CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Just showed her speaking and showed the attacks on 9/11. People that, to avoid being burned alive, jumped to their death, thinking to themselves, that'll be quick, far quicker than being burned alive inside this building. And people stood in line to jump. Some people did something somewhere unbelievable. I just can't believe the fact that she's still in office. Some people did something. Some people did something. President Trump, after Nancy Pelosi tweeted out that the president said something that was inflammatory and hateful, I want to say this. President Trump was absolutely right in putting up that video, because the American people need to see the mindset of our Muslim congressional freshman, Omar and Rashida Tlaib, who represents a district in Michigan. President Trump tweeted out to Nancy Pelosi's venom. Before Nancy, who has lost all control of Congress and is getting nothing done, decides to defend her leader, Representative Omar, she should look at the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and ungrateful U.S. hate statements Omar has made. She's out of control, except for her control of Nancy. I completely agree, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Denise Gary Show. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this broadcast out to everyone you know here in California and across the country. Let's spread the good word. Make America great again. Again, thank you for listening. Have a beautiful evening. This is Denise signing off.
Thank you for listening to The Denise Gary Show. Intelligent talk media.